Greetings viewer, today you join me aboard the Mercedes EQA, which is the electric version of the GLA. It's not its own bespoke electric model because it is based on the gas or diesel burning GLA. And because it's an ICE vehicle turned EV, some compromises have been made, which you might find acceptable or you might not find acceptable for a vehicle that costs from around 50,000 euros or just under 50,000 euros with VAT. The EQA draws from a 66.5 kilowatt hour battery pack and its quoted WLTP range is 428 kilometers. I sadly don't have time to do a range test in this vehicle, but from what I've seen online, you can realistically expect to get some 320 kilometers out of a full charge. The vehicle has an onboard charger, which allows it to charge at a maximum 11 kilowatts, and that should top up the battery in around 5 hours. Its peak rate of charge is 125 kilowatts, and if you find the charger quick enough to supply that kind of current, you will get it from close to empty to around 80% state of charge in under an hour. My tester today is the EQA 250, which is the base model in the EQA lineup. Initially, it was the only model revealed, but Mercedes recently added 2 additional models. This one, the EQA 250, is front-wheel drive, and it has around 190 horsepower. The sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour is dispatched in a leisurely 8.9 seconds, so it's not very brisk, at least not off the line, because once you get it moving and you stab the go pedal, the vehicle really takes off. So while it may feel slightly sluggish off the line, especially if you've experienced other more powerful EVs, once you are on the move, it's much better. The newly revealed EQA variants, the 300 and the 350, both feature a dual motor setup and more power. The most powerful EQA 350 has around 290 horsepower, and it is far quicker to sprint than this 250. For that model, the claimed sprint time is 6 seconds dead. All variants of EQA, regardless of power and how many motors they have, are limited to 160 kilometers per hour or 99 miles per hour. From the outside, you can tell the EQA apart from the GLA by its completely closed-off grille and unique bumper, the unique rim designs it features, the EQA badges on the front fenders, the EQA 250 badge on the rear, the slightly different rear bumper too, and probably the biggest giveaway is the rear light bar that spans the entire width of the rear end. The front end also gets a light bar, and the design of the headlights is slightly different compared to the normal GLA. And you can tell the EQA's headlights apart from the GLA's by there's like a streak of blue trim inside the headlight that says Mercedes-Benz on it. The headlights are LEDs as standard, and they actually do a great job of illuminating the road. I don't normally mention this, but I was impressed. Just like the GLA, this vehicle is addressed at those who want a small high rider for the city. And since crossovers are super popular these days, and the popularity of EVs is growing, this vehicle should be exactly what buyers want. It looks chunky enough from the outside. It does look like a mini SUV. The doors go all the way down so the sills don't get dirty when you off-road, although you're not going to off-road this front-wheel drive EQA now, are you? And the ground clearance is decent. Inside the EQA, the differences between it and the GLA are even more subtle. In fact, it's basically indistinguishable, especially if you opt for an example with the AMG pack like my tester that gives you these nice sport seats with contrasting red stitching and this lovely AMG steering wheel with the same contrasting red stitching. You really can't tell. Unlike the GLA though, the EQA doesn't come with the base screen setup. So the base GLA gets 2 7-ish inch screens, which have a very awful looking bezel, and if you're buying one of these, just pay extra for the larger screens. But the EQA gets the larger screens as standard, and they are very clear. Both are 10-inch displays with amazing graphics. The infotainment is the Mercedes' latest, called MBUX. Everything you touch except for some plastics lower down, and this palm rest, which is kind of nasty. I would have liked a higher quality plastic here. But everything else you touch is really, really nice. With the AMG pack, you also get this suede on the door cards. And I do like this open pore wood trim that's on the doors and on the dash. That's quite classy. In changing this vehicle from an ICE vehicle to an EV, Mercedes has slightly compromised its practicality and comfort. So while from the driver's seat you might not notice anything odd, if you're a passenger in the rear and you've been aboard a GLA previously, you will feel like your knees are a bit higher than in that car. And that's not just a feeling, it's a fact. The battery lives under the rear seat and into the trunk area, so your legs are not only pushed further up, but you also lose around 200 liters of load volume. The regular GLA has 500-ish liters of cargo volume, and this has around 300-ish. One big compromise that this vehicle has, because it's an ICE vehicle that's been repurposed as an EV, is the extra weight. This vehicle weighs almost 2 tons, and that's around 500 kilos heavier than a comparable front-wheel drive GLA, and that's a lot. And while just cruising around, you won't notice this. When you chuck it into a corner, it starts to go all wobbly, and it's not very reassuring. This is at odds with the GLA's handling, which is very enjoyable. You really do notice the extra weight, not so much in a straight line, but during cornering. And this, I think, sets the theme for the conclusion I'm going to draw about this car. I'm pretty sure I'm not the target audience for this vehicle. Because, for instance, I don't like the driving position that much. I feel like I'm sitting too high in this vehicle, but then again, for some people, this will be a quality and something they appreciate about it. But it's not the case with me. I like other Mercedes, for instance, based on the same platform. The CLA is great. I love the CLA. And you sit very nice and it feels very sporty. And the interior somehow feels more expensive and exclusive than this, even though it isn't. It has the same soft materials on top and harder plastics on the bottom. And this vehicle has another problem. It goes up against many other crossovers, electric crossovers, that cost around 50,000 euros. I recently drove the VW ID4, which is built on a bespoke EV platform, and while its interior doesn't feel as plush, it's plush enough and it's far more spacious. You really feel like you have limousine levels of legroom in the back of that. And headroom is also just as good as in this car, which looks taller and slightly odd looking compared to that. And if this vehicle does get cross-shopped against the Tesla Model Y, regardless of variant of Model Y, it doesn't stand a chance. The Tesla is miles better. Mercedes is planning to launch more bespoke EVs, but this isn't one of them. The first one we're going to be able to try out is the EQS, which is weeks, maybe months away. We'll get to try that soon, and I can't wait. I want to see what a Mercedes that was conceived from the ground up as an electric vehicle is like. The only other electric Mercedes that I drove was the EQC. And honestly, overall, I preferred that vehicle to this one. It just felt more luxurious. It was obviously twice the price. It was like 96,000 euros, and this is just under 60 with the AMG pack and some extras. Mercedes made this car because it had to, not because it wanted to. And I'm really curious to see the vehicles, the electric vehicles that it wants to make. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching until the end, and until the next one, take care.